Okay, there's only four of us, but we're going to start. Well, here comes Zoom user Rivka, zooming in from the Holy Land. Good day, Rivka. Okay. 6 Kislev. My father said, Rabbi Rashab, that the reciting of Shema before retiring at night is in miniature form like the confession before death. But there's a big difference. Then, confession before death, one leaves the marketplace permanently. Why do you think why the Rebbe Rashab calls being alive in this world a marketplace? Any thoughts? He says when we die, we leave the marketplace. Why is this called a marketplace?
That's where we pick up our mitzvahs.
Yeah, but in a marketplace, you just don't pick up stuff.
Well,
it's a market.
Acquire. You want the word acquire better?
No. Think about why is a person invested in a market? Look at it that way.
To
make
a profit. We make a profit.
Make profit. Exactly. So that's what we do when in this life we make a profit. We reveal light that's in the darkness. We achieve birurim, rectifications. We improve things. That's the marketplace. Good. When we leave when death is leaving the marketplace permanently, and he says, and the commerce, I guess if I had gone to commerce, you would have got it easier. And the commerce of today is the day to perform them. And that's over when a person passes away. Birurim, the opportunity for achieving, aggrandizing your investment is over. With the bedside Shema every night, however, one is still in the middle of the market and can still accomplish and achieve. Good thought. Next time we say Krishna Lamita. Okay. Continuing our conversation about the Mila of mitzvahs over learning Torah and davening. Page 318 here at the bottom of the page, 6 Kislev. And over here, in this sefer, middle of page 312. The line begins, Hilchoseha. It's really on the smack in the middle and over on the left. Okay, so now he's going to contrast what we've been talking about, mitzvahs, which on the one, let's get the perspective. Mitzvahs on the one hand, pretty simple, right? You just pick up an esrog, you bench a lift, you say a brucha on a piece of challah. Pretty simple stuff. Versus the soides, the study of Maisa Hamakava, Maisa Bereshis, the Panemius of Torah, the Kabbalah. Nevertheless, Mashiach came starting now. When you just on the other hand, when you study Seder Hastalshalis, right, you're digging into, as we do a lot of this, our conversation in Sefer Tanya, and in Hasidus in general, is to understand the Seder Hastalshalis. But af im masig hametzius. Wonder why that came on. Okay. Even though when you study Seder HaHastalshalis, right, you're studying the emergence from Ayin to Yesh. You're studying about the kav in the hut, the kav, the beam that comes out of the tzimtzum. And you're studying how that creates a world called Atzilus, and the difference between the world of Atzilus and Bria, and we could go on, etc., etc. So even though Masig HaMetzias, you can get an understanding of the description of those worlds, what the existence of those worlds is like, you can get the words, right? Atzilus is called the world of Netzolim. And we understand that's a difference, the difference between Netzol, Atzilus, and Bria. And Netzol, when the light is emanated, you understand that there's a connection between the emanator and the emanated. And if the emanator, the one who emanates, were to go out, if the sun were to go out, if the light bulb were to go out, there would be a stop of the flow. That's emanation. It's a flow. It's called devekis. There's a continuality. There's a continuum. Bria is a division. Bria is really where we've learned, and it's not important to get this right now, I'm just giving examples, is where we really get the sense of something different, something that feels itself separate. So we can understand all that. And that's called Masik HaMetzias. You get the understanding of how things are. But Le'adif Mitzad Atzmai Belimit HaMitzvahs, that is not as good in itself as the learning of mitzvahs, Shemasig Votefes Amahus, where in mitzvahs, you're getting not just the understanding of how things are, but this word mahus, you can easily understand what the difference is between matzias and mahus. Mahus is mahu, not just the way things are, but what it actually is. You're getting what it actually is. And I'm going to quote here from the previous page in my book. For instance, when he brought up the esrog, al derek mashal, and there he said explicitly, he's bringing it up just as a mashal. He says, when you look at the esrog, its life force and the way it's just drawn down and drawn and down, it comes from the essence of the externality of the kalim. It doesn't matter today where it comes from. The essence. God's essence is implanted in the mitzvahs. God's metzias, meaning how he actualizes himself in a manner that creation can grasp him, that's in Seder HaHistalshalis. But the mahus, the essence of God himself, is implanted in the mitzvahs. Yeah. And we were talking here previously about even learning the halachas of the mitzvahs. When a person learns the halachas of the mitzvahs, it's counted as if he's actually fulfilling them in actual deed. Moshe Kosev, as is written, Zayis Torah Oila. We say this about the korbanos in the morning. This is the law of the oila, zois. And zois is something you can touch and feel. So even learning the halachas of the korban oila, for example, or any other mitzvah, you're actually just like it's as if you're grabbing the mitzvah in your hand. And when you grab the mitzvah in your hand, you're grabbing the mahus, the essence of godliness, not just the expression of godliness. But when we look at the knowledge of the metzias, the expression of godliness, you should know that knowing the metzias, meaning knowing how God expresses himself through the Seder HaHistalshalis, is gam kem a mitzvah. It's also a mitzvah. As we expressed before, learning, we explained the mila of the advantage of mitzvahs over Torah, but learning Torah is also a mitzvah. Okay? So similarly over here, we get back to that in the mitzvah, what's the advantage of it? You get the mahus, you get mahu. Exactly what God is expressed in the mitzvah. However, verses say the histalshalis, all this knowledge that we talked about from Atzilus to Bria, etc., except that you should know that knowing that is also a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah rabbah, a nissa. It's a big mitzvah, and it's a very high mitzvah to learn about Seder Histalshalis. On the contrary, oila al kulonim, this mitzvah of knowing about Seder Histalshalis literally rises above all others, because we have this overarching mitzvah, v'yadaita hayayim, right? It's a pasuk, I think, in Devarim. Yadaita hayayim v'shevasa elav. You should know today and put it on your heart. Ki Hashem hu elakim. This is a big mitzvah. Da, to know Hashem, is a big mitzvah. Da es elakei avicha. It's another pasuk. You should know the God of your father. So knowing God, which is understood and known through this understandings of Kabbalah, Hasidus, and the Soidus of Torah, is a huge mitzvah. Because why? It brings you to a complete heart, brings the awareness of godliness into your heart, Shehua Ikar, which is the main thing. That the awareness of God and knowledge of God should be brought to your heart. Hasogas hametzias, and when you do this, when you learn about Seder Histalshalis, the way to grasp it so that it comes to your heart it's called lahafshit megashmius, to strip away the gashmius, to understand that it's metaphorical. When we speak of, let's say, a keli, oros and keli, lights and vessels, those things are metaphors. Hashem is not emitting light the way you understand it, nor is the light in a light bulb the way we understand it, a vessel. They're metaphors. But nevertheless, and the notion of understanding those is to strip away the metaphoric to understand and feel the essential meaning that's being contained in the metaphor. Nevertheless, in other words, this is the advantage. There is a big deal about knowing, studying Maaseh HaMarkava and learning Seder Histalshalis because it's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to know God and to bring God upon your heart. Rak, however, the flip side, Shezehu mitzvah achas. It's only one mitzvah. Mitariag mitzvahs from the 313 mitzvahs. Va'odam tzorak lekayim kol tariag. And a person has to fulfill all 613. Lefi shehein histalshalis hamahus. Why? Because the mitzvahs are the way that God's very essence, mahu, what he is, in essence, is brought down into this world, into the container of the devorim, devar mitzvah, the devorim, the things that we do with the mitzvah. And it's brought down through the God's mahus, what he is actually, in actuality, expressed in the chesonius of the kelim of Atzilus. This is language we learned on Friday. His mahus, his essence, is brought down in the externality of the kelim of Atzilus. Locha, therefore, sorek laharbas belimit kol tariyat. You have to learn, one should extend himself and learn the halachas of all the 613 mitzvahs, the kayuman bepoil, and do them all in actuality, mamish. Do them in thought, speech, and action. Shehein biyah. Right? His mahus, his essence, is expressed in the vessels of Atzilus, but they're done. Remember, Bria starts the creation, the sense of separateness from Hashem. And that's the world we live in. We live in the world where that separateness from Hashem is most experienced as separateness. And bring them down from Atzilus into Bria, Yetzirah, V'Yasiyah, because, back to harmonium, because we've been put in the marketplace, Levada Birurim, to rectify things that need rectification. Ashasham, which is there is the place, meaning down here is the place to do it. That's short, today's Tanya. Oh, somebody's in. Sarah. Yeah.
Good morning.
Hi.
So it's a mitzvah to bring, as the words are, I guess, to bring God into our heart.
Yes, that's the mitzvah that's largely performed by learning Chassidus, the spiritual aspect. Bring spirit into flesh is a mitzvah. Yes.
So if we were going to trace it to like which of the 613 it is.
It's the mitzvah. It's the one he says on the page. Da es elokei avicha. That's a positive mitzvah. To know God, your God. To know God. That's the one he says on the page. That is the mitzvah. That's one of the 613. To know God. Okay. Yeah. Or no?
Yeah.
Silence is good. Okay, good. Riza?
Thank you. Yeah,
You're
I want to,
welcome.
if you could be a little bit, I know you've put a lot of thought into this, so if you could give us a little bit, 5 ways that we can do this mitzvah, V'yadat hayom, to know Hashem.
5 ways. Well, I'll need help here. I think other people can do it as well. What do you mean? What practical? How to perform that mitzvah practically? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Learn
Is it through
Chassidus.
prayer?
Learn Chassidus. No. Remember, he's talking about learning. His context here is learning about Seder Histalshalos, and he begins today by saying, even though it's a big deal to learn about Seder Histalshalos, it's not nearly the big deal that actually doing in Seder Histalshalos is. However, then he turns around and says, you should know that learning about Seder Histalshalos is a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah which is da'es Elokei Avicha. So that's the way on the page, the one way of da'es Elokei Avicha, to learn Chassidus. I mean, another way that comes to mind, but it's not in learning, it's in davening, kavanah, right? Having the feel for what's going on certainly not just reading the words. It's at least going to Pirush HaMilos, and then understanding the inner meaning. Well, we're back to Chassidus, the inner meaning of the Pirush HaMilos. Hashamayim misaprin kavod keel. There's a line in davening, right? Oh, the trees sing the praise of Hashem, right? That gives you a feeling for God's energy, like a wind wafting through all of creation. So davening, and so meditation, contemplation, his blindness is another way, in whatever you're doing, to bring down God. Here's a two. I couldn't promise 3, 4, 5. Maybe someone else can bring some. What 3, 4, 5? Another way of doing the mitzvah of knowing God.
There's b'chol derechecha de'ehu. Come on.
B'chol derechecha de'ehu. In all your ways, you should know him. But she's asking how. For sure.
Hashkacha pratis. They're saying a bracha. There's giving tzedakah with knowing it's because it's a mitzvah. I mean, we don't. I know we love to learn, and we're intellectuals and all that. But what this Tanya is telling us is that's one of 613 mitzvahs. And I'm back on my
right. 1 of 16 is to know God. She's asking about that one.
Yeah, well, why is it only intellectualizing?
No, it isn't. It isn't only intellectualizing. The mitzvah is to intellectualize. He's asking, give us examples of how to bring that into das. And now the commandment, das yeah, that's also expressing the mitzvah. That the mitzvah that you said. You should know him. She's asking, how do you get to know him?
How about seeing what's happening to you in your day and knowing it's hashgacha pratis?
Okay.
I agree with that. I think hashgacha pratis is a very big one. It's
Huge.
A very big in God, and you have to practice that. You have to have your energy up to be able to pick it up in your day.
For sure.
So
that's
part of
way.
it, I know this sounds like, oh, well, it's so obvious, but because it's so obvious, we don't give it enough energy. I think I saw this, I don't remember. I saw this on Shabbos, but they said an analogy that when you go to a wedding, the chuppah is first. And that gives meaning to the rest of it. A gathering that is just about the dancing and about the food would not have much meaning. So, too, in your day, the chuppah is first.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you do the beginning of the day, like if in the beginning of the day you connect with Hashem, then that gives meaning to the rest of your day,
is actually
the rest of the wedding.
That's a mitzvah. Kadesh atzmecha b'mutalach. Make yourself holy in what's permissible to you. It's all about striking an attitude. The attitude of opening yourself up to Kedusha in the mundane.
But it's not, I don't know, like even it's a daily struggle because we are Beinonim. And it's not obvious that a person is, oh, of course, Yadat Hayom. Yeah, of course we're going to know God.
No, it's something you have to do. That's like all the mitzvahs. You have to do it. It's not just like breathing. You have to do something about it. Yeah.
The first time I found people that were actually like really talking with enthusiasm about Hashem over lunch was a Machon Chana.
Great.
Usually people make small talk over lunch. And here we had morning classes and everybody was just so excited and so enthusiastic that from one table to another in that dining room, everybody was talking about Hashem.
I'm just curious, when did you go to Machon Chana? In your later, recent life, or
we had Machon Chana in Elka Park. It was the 3 best years, the 3 dream years. The Gelmans were sponsoring it, and you had a yeshiva vacation, and I taught, and I heard the best shiurim you could imagine.
I remember that, sure. In Elka Park. I was out there too in those years.
Yeah, me too.
You too? Me too? Yeah. Great.
That's where I started.
At that hotel out there in the woods.
But I think it's connecting on a daily, minute by minute, sometimes day. Like in your car, rather than listening to the radio, sometimes we talk to Hashem. Mm-hmm. And that's how, just by connecting, of course, through davening into Tehillim and learning and I'm still working on the difference between B'tachon and Emunah. And trying to start.
You're not the only one, by the way.
But I think that really is a lot of what's connecting with Hashem constantly.
Mm-hmm. That's a big one. That's a huge one. I mean, and that's a beautiful path. Learning to, Rivka, you mentioned Hashgacha Pratis, really to trust, betach, for certain, right? We say in Hebrew, betach, for certain. That everything that's happening is happening orchestrated by the hands of God. Practicing that's another technique for sure. So I think we're doing a fairly good job of giving you 5 or more techniques. Shikaya. So, any other offerings? Things need to be said? Then we'll take all that and walk into Rivka and Sarah and Svat and up there the rest of today, and us at the beginning of the day. We'll walk into the market. We'll walk into the marketplace. Oh, wait a minute. What?
I have a grandson. He is part of Tzivos Hashem.
Yeah.
He's Stalin. He's not Chabad. He's part of Tzivos Hashem. He lives in Borough Park, and he said, every morning, I do 5 mitzvahs when I wake up. I say Moda'ani. I wash my hands right by my bed. I say Reishis Chachma. I put on tzitzis, and I give tzedakah. Okay. He has a pushka by his bed. So before I leave my room, I already did 5 mitzvahs.
Good for him. Great. So let's go do mitzvahs. So we meet tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Sir Tovot.